time to end here.
Violence has always been a controversial topic. Violence is everywhere. Aggression is a natural instinct humans have developed in order to survive. But isn't our world safe and protected enough for violence to be unnecessary? My statement is for violence is not the answer in the affirmative. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Nonviolence is the answer to the crucial political and moral questions of our time." The need for man to overcome oppression and violence without resorting to oppression and violence. Man must evolve for all human conflicts, a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Martin Luther King Jr. was able to fight discrimination without violence. He was able to convince thousands to suppress the desire to resort to violence. I also believe that using violence as a solution will cause more violence and therefore more problems. One good example is during World War I. All it took was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand to start a world war. People are naturally affected by what goes on around them. In this case, the alliances countries made with each other pulled in the world powers into the smallest of wars. Countries joined to help end the war sooner, but only made things worse. There were 37 million casualties in World War I. Mahatma Gandhi, a pacifist leader of India, once said, "I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent." There are always better alternatives to violence without the grim downsides. If you catch someone cheating on your test, you could simply kill them. Is that the proper choice? Wouldn't it be preferable to inform the nearest teacher? Because being a tattler is far better than being a murderer. Killing for cheating off your test risks jail time as well, doesn't it? Another major example would be the Russian Revolution. The commoners of Russia were free from the foolish rule of their Tsar Nicholas II, but the overthrow and execution of the royal family led to the less preferable tyranny of Joseph Stalin. Up to 49 million people died under Joseph Stalin's rule, worse than Hitler's Holocaust. My opponent may argue that sometimes violence is the only answer, but I ask them if they think mass murder is their best answer. I also ask if it's acceptable to let so many people die, even if you can justify your war. Did you explore other solutions? When it comes down to events that affect millions of people around the world, a person should attempt and look through all probable options before resorting to violence of any kind. People selfish enough to not do this shouldn't be in positions that give them this power anyways. Thank you. I now submit the cross-examination.
Cary, you have 2 minutes to cross-examine your wife, and that time begins.
Would you say that 9/11 was a terrible time with a lot of violence?
Yes.
Then would you say it would have been a lot worse if that last plane crashed into the Capitol building?
Yes, I guess so.
Then would you agree that the people on that plane had to use violence to override the terrorists and crash it into the open field?
I don't think they exactly used violence. Didn't they just sacrifice themselves instead?
Well, they had to override the terrorists in order to crash it into the open field instead of crashing it into the Capitol.
Yeah, I guess in that case it was okay.
So, in this example, wouldn't you say that violence would be a good thing?
Well, I believe that there are people, like the terrorists that overrode the plane, who are just have the mind and they don't care about enough people, and they do things like that. And when it comes to those kind of people, you have to come to the last resort. So they didn't promptly just attack the people. They thought of that was like one of their last answers. That was the last choice they could have taken. So yeah, I guess if that's the last choice, then violence was the answer in that case.
Okay. So you were trying to prove that violence is a bad thing, right?
Yes.
So would you say killing something is violence?
Yes, it would.
Then would killing an animal to end its suffering from an incurable disease is a bad thing?
No, I guess not.
So in this example, violence would be used for good.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Do you like eating meat?
Yes.
So would you say slaughtering animals is an act of violence?
Yes, I would.
So you enjoy something that was made from an act of violence?
I don't enjoy it. It's just something that's necessary.
So in this example, violence would be used to create something that you love?
I guess.
Time. I'm doing pretty good. Alright. Okay, Keely, you have 3 minutes for your argumentation here, and that time is up.
I disagree with the statement that violence is not the answer. Violence can be good. It It can be used to defend one's country and save more lives when if people were doing nothing. Violence can be effective. Also, many people think violence is a bad thing, but it can also be used for good. Violence can be used to defend something important to a person. Violence might actually save more lives than if people were doing nothing. In World War I, the Germans brought the U.S. into the war by destroying the Louisiana, which had Americans on it, and telling Mexico to declare war on the U.S. The U.S. had to join the war to defend themselves. And as Ovid once said, happy are those who dare courageously to defend what they love. Violence can be used to fight for and defend for what you believe in. A second example would be in the French Revolution. During the French Revolution, there was a lot of violence, but that was the only way for the commoners to get their equality. In the French Revolution, the commoners didn't even have enough money to buy bread, while the wealthy would be partying all day. The royalty wouldn't do anything to help the poor commoners, and they definitely weren't treating them with the equality they deserved. The only way for them to get their equality was to use violence. The royalty wouldn't listen to the commoners if they were just to talk to them. Violence is just a part of the nature of life, and it can be used for good. Remember that hamburger you probably just ate? 41,700,000 cows are slaughtered in a year to make the delicious hamburgers we have. Hunting is fine, so we use it for everyday eating. It is just part of life. In the animal kingdom, the belief is the survival of the fittest. It is almost the same with humans. We all want to be the top dog. Take a pack of wolves, for example. One wolf might want to assume the leadership of the pack, but he first has to fight off the pack leader to get what he wants. Same thing can happen in a business or at school. If you fail at something, are you going to show that you are weak and quit, or show that you are strong and try harder the next time? Whether if it's wild animals or humans, there's going to be violence sometimes. It's part of the animal nature, and we're animals too. Violence also can be used for good. For example, if there's an animal with rabies, the animal can hurt a lot of people and it is suffering as well, but it can't be cured. The best thing to do for it is to use violence to kill it and end its suffering. Many people talk of world peace and nonviolence, but there's nothing anybody can do to stop violence. It's just a part of the nature of life, and it can even be used for good. My opponent may say that the conquest of the Americas destroyed many of the natives, but look what we have in the Americas today. Technology and innovation. Is it really that bad? There's no way to stop violence from occurring. It just happens along with many other things on this planet. Many people think violence is a bad thing, but I hope that you can see that violence is effective and can sometimes even be used for good. Thank you. I now stand ready for cross-examination.
So we're going to have 2 minutes to cross-examine Cary, and that's time begins.
Okay, I'm sure you're aware of bullying, right? You know how that's a significant problem, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you agree that violence is a problem in schools and in our everyday lives.
Well, bullying is not always fun.
I think I would say if a bully were to perhaps punch another kid in the face, that was violence, right?
Yes.
Okay. So why do we need that kind of violence in school? That's not necessary in school, is it?
No, but if there is a good reason to use violence, then you can use violence.
So if someone were to steal your pencil, would your first answer be to punch them in the face?
No, but if there is a good reason to punch them in the face, then that would be, you would be safe to take.
Can you give me an example of when it would be a good idea to use it in school, violence in school?
Well, say there is a bully and he punches you in the face. You would want to punch him back, and I think that would be a good reason to punch him back.
But if you punch the bully in the face, wouldn't you also get in trouble?
Well, you might, but if the bully did start it, then that you might not get it.
But that usually doesn't really matter, because even if they did start it, then you would still be committing the act of violence and would only be punished for it.
Yes, but and if the bully does punch you in the face, you can't it would be hard to call for help right at that second. So the only way would be to retaliate and punch.
Well, have you heard of martial arts, perhaps?
Yes.
You know karate is the defense when someone commits violence against you. Have you heard of Aikido? It's this form of martial arts where they use another's violence against them without committing a major act of violence themselves. So there are ways to be able to defend yourself without committing a major act of violence.
Time. You have 1 minute to prepare for closing statements. You'll need the table and campus together.
There's always a downside to it and a better solution. It's not worth killing innocent people for even the most significant problems. And when it comes down to it, violence plus violence only equals more violence. Even when in a case when you need to defend yourself, the main thing that you need is willpower. Willpower is the answer, not violence. There are lots of people who are able to argue and fight for what they believe in without violence or wars. For example, companies like World Wildlife Fund are able to get thousands of normal, ordinary people to contribute and donate money to protect endangered animals. No violence necessary. I guess everyone knows how human pollution is killing helpless animals, but it doesn't seem like that many people know how human violence is killing innocent humans.
So Kayla, you'll have 1 minute for your closing statement starting here.
As you can see, there is violence in World War I, the French Revolution, and in everyday life. There is always a reason for people to use violence, whether it is defending something important to someone or fighting for what someone believes in. These people are just thinking for a way that they should have gotten that would be more effective than just talking to them. My opponent argued that Martin Luther King Jr. used peace to fight for what he believed in. But wasn't it the violent reaction that some people had that caused more people to agree with Martin Luther King Jr.? Remember that there's nothing that people can do to stop it. It happens every day. You might say that violence is always bad, but it is very effective and can be used for a good purpose.
Nice job, ladies.